Hey, friends, and welcome back to the Lazy Budget Travel Tips podcast. I'm your host, Genni Franklin, and today's episode is full of festive cheer, even if it's 90 degrees out and the only snow we're seeing is in holiday movie rerun. We're calling this one Christmas in July because we're taking you behind the scenes of a magical trip I took last December. A multi city European adventure through some of the most iconic Christmas markets with my very special guest and travel partner, my mom, Gloria. She's the original planner in our family, and when she told me it was her dream to see the Christmas markets, I knew we had to make it happen. On a budget, of course. In part one, we're sharing how we booked affordable flights using points and miles, tackled a long layover in Amsterdam, and started our market adventure in Berlin. From travel tips to funny moments, this one's packed with everything we wish we knew before we went. So, whether you're sipping hot cocoa or sweating through summer, get cozy and let's dive into the holiday magic. Hey, Mom, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for the invite.
Yes, well, you didn't really have a choice, so there's also that.
True. So true.
So, why don't you start off by telling the listeners what made you want to go to Europe for the Christmas markets and what was the inspiration?
I was researching in Globus, which is a travel agency, because I was planning a trip with my dad to Germany because he was stationed in Germany when he was in the army. And going through their different tours, I saw that they had Christmas markets. And I said, wow, that would be great if we can go to a Christmas market. The pictures look so pretty. And I thought, I don't want to do with a travel group, but I would like to go and do it in my own pace and go to the places that I want to go to and make it my own trip. So that's where the desire came. And plus, we wind up going to the Christmas market here in Florida in the German club. We had the flavor of the food, the merch. We got the nutcracker and all.
You do love your souvenirs.
Yes, I love my souvenirs. When I went to Germany with my dad, I got the nutcracker, I got a cuckoo clock. Um, I thought, oh, if I really enjoy myself. When I went with my dad, imagine going to the Christmas market and seeing it a lot more. It just started the dream to go at least once in a lifetime.
Yeah, and we always grew up going to, like you said, the American German Club, but we first started going there for Oktoberfest because they have a huge celebration, and that was always fun. And we really enjoyed the food there. And then one year you mentioned to me, look, it looks like they do Christmas markets too, and they called it the Christkindl Market. So one year we went to check that out and it was a lot smaller scale than Oktoberfest, but it was actually really nice and festive. And as I started to get more into points and miles and following people, I saw a lot of people going to the Christmas markets in Europe. So I was like, let's do it. We have the points and miles, so we should be able to do something like that. So I kind of took your idea and ran with it. And one day I woke up and decided that that's what we were going to do. And the reason why I wanted to do a Christmas in July episode to talk about the European Christmas markets is because I think I actually booked the flights in like June or July before going to the markets in December. So if you're someone who is interested in booking the European Christmas markets and you're wondering, is it too late? Should I like even start to plan now to go in December? And I don't think it's too late. I think it's definitely still possible for you to go. And for us, what went into the planning was I really didn't know specifically where we wanted to go. And I know after we kind of talked about it a little bit, we really wanted to go to Germany. That was our big thing. There are markets all over Europe, but Germany was really the place that we wanted to go for our first, maybe last, European Christmas market adventure. Because I believe that the markets actually originated in Germany. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I read, and Austria, and they're close, their border. So I was excited if we were able to start in Germany.
Yeah, and Germany was a country that I had never been to before, so I was definitely excited about adding a country to my list. I always love doing that.
And I've always wanted to go back to Germany. So I figure, well, if I can go back to Germany, um, as part of this Christmas market trip, that'd be perfect if we can do that. So I said, that's fulfilling two goals, Christmas market and visiting Germany again.
So, when I started looking at flights, I basically was just trying to get to Germany. It didn't really matter to me where, because I knew we were going to figure it out once we got a flight to Germany. So the loyalty program that I gravitated towards was KLM and Air France. So that's the Flying Blue loyalty program. Because I knew that we were going to be able to find flights from Miami on those airlines. Miami is the closest and largest international airport to us, instead of having to purchase a separate positioning flight somewhere else. I like to keep our reservations on the same, they call it record locator, instead of having them separate. So in case a flight gets delayed or canceled or whatever, then I know that I'm going to be rebooked, as opposed to if I book a completely separate positioning flight, then if something gets canceled or delayed, we're kind of screwed. So, we kind of just did what we could. And one of the programs that we like to collect a lot of points with is Chase Ultimate Rewards. And I knew that Flying Blue is a transfer partner for Chase Ultimate Rewards. I was able to find pretty decent award availability. I had a feeling that business class wasn't really going to be an option for us with this trip. So I kind of was like, you know what? We just want to go to the Christmas markets. I know I can make this happen for December with our schedules and stuff. And I just didn't want to wait another year. So I was able to find flights from Miami to Berlin. I was looking at other cities within Germany, but with flying from Miami, we were gonna have a layover trying to get to Germany, regardless of whatever airline I was going to be choosing. So, weighing all the options and looking at the award availability and the award redemptions, I settled on doing a layover with KLM to Amsterdam. I had never been to Amsterdam. I know that you've been to Amsterdam and you really liked it. And I just saw it as an opportunity to be able to kind of check off another destination on this trip. So I think it was like a 13-hour layover to Amsterdam, which is so long. We did 20,000 points transferred from Chase Ultimate Rewards. Unfortunately, there wasn't a transfer bonus when we were doing this, and it was around $200 per person in taxes and fees, and that included checking a bag. We usually don't check bags when we travel, but in this case, with the long layover, and I knew that we needed to be able to bring home souvenirs because we love souvenirs and we got to get those mugs, right?
Right.
Those mugs for the European Christmas markets are a big deal. So I thought, okay, let's still bring carry-on size, but pay extra to be able to check a bag. Included with that was also getting the two-seaters, because usually when you fly those big planes, in economy, it's like 3 seats by the window, then 6 seats in the middle, and then another 3 seats. But they did have a few rows, very few, that had the two-seaters. And economy is rough as it is, and I was not trying to be crammed next to anybody else besides you. So I decided that this was the route that we were going to go, and that's what we did. And then I also found out that in Berlin, I can find cheap intra-Europe flights. And once we knew we were going to Germany, once we knew that we were going to Berlin, one of the other cities that I had heard about was Munich. I had heard that the Christmas markets in Munich were amazing. It's in Bavaria, and, a lot of the iconic German things that we know about in the United States, that really comes from Bavaria. So I knew that that would be fun. That would be kind of more of the vibe that we were going for. I talked to you about it and you agreed. And I was able to find flight to Munich, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. So from there, we knew while we're in Munich, a lot of people talk about a day trip to Salzburg, Austria. I think you wanted to go to Vienna. That just wasn't going to work out logistically. And when people think of Salzburg, they think the Sound of Music, because I think you had said that they filmed parts of the movie there.
Yes, some of the scenes were shot there and some in Hollywood. So there's Sound of Music tours there that you can take. Yeah,
And it's also the birthplace of Mozart, right?
correct. It's birthplace and where he lived as an adult. Yes.
When I was looking at the flights to come home, that was a bit of a challenge to try and get home from Germany. But I usually find good award availability out of Paris because it's a bigger hub and there's a lot of direct flights from Paris to Miami. And you and I love Paris. We went there a couple years
Oh,
ago.
yeah. And I always say I left my heart in Paris. I just fell in love with it. The big city girl in me.
And I mean, who doesn't want to go to Paris for Christmas time, right? I
Right.
looked it up and it was easy enough to get a flight. You can take a train, but the thing about the trains going that far is that, yeah, if I had unlimited time, it would be fine. But it just so many hours and the flights are so easy. They're pretty affordable.
Right.
So I said, why don't we then hop from Munich to Paris and just fly home from Paris? If you're trying to get to Europe, be flexible with where you're flying into, where you're flying out of, because once you're in Europe, it's pretty easy to get around, which is really nice, especially in the Schengen area, because you don't have to always go through customs traveling between these countries. It was a lot logistically to plan, but it was worth it. I like to get all my flights out of the way, then I relax. That's when you start to do all of your research and stuff.
After you've done your magic, then it's my turn to do my magic.
Exactly. So, why don't you tell us what you did to research the different markets, and then we can get into and start the itinerary day by day of the trip?
Yeah, what I normally do for any trip, I go to Barnes& and Nobles and I get travel books on that country and I start to read and take notes. From there, it gives me idea of then going to YouTube and finding a video based on what I'm looking for in the area, the Christmas market or the hotel, the city in itself. So that's how I go about it. Plus the areas, I always try to look, okay, so this is a city. Where's the major shopping avenue? Or boulevard, whatever, because I know that it's gonna be lively, gonna be restaurants, probably a Christmas market nearby. We like to take the hop on, hop off bus wherever we go, it's very convenient. We learn a lot from it. So I go to you and I said, "Okay, I wanted to stay in West Berlin." Okay, but look here, not just look throughout the whole city. You look everywhere in Berlin, and it's just gonna take us way out to where we need to be for the Christmas markets.
Yeah, and I think the planning, it's one of the things that makes our trip run so logistically smooth because we've done a few of these now, so we understand that for us personally, it's not worth it to, because a lot of points hotels, the ones that you can get really good redemptions with, they're not in the parts of the cities or near the activities that we want to do sometimes.
Right.
And we have made that decision that we would rather stay closer in the action. We're only here for a certain amount of time. I'm not looking to stay at the trendy points place because all of the influencers are staying there. So for this trip, we barely used points for any of the stays. And that was okay because we were strategic about when we were going and where we were going. We were to save on cash prices for these hotels because in Berlin, we stayed like a 5-minute walk from one of the
Popular,
most
big, yeah.
popular Christmas markets. We were 5 minutes from there. And then there was a hop on, hop off stop. And then we were able to get on that to take us to East Berlin to go to the other markets. So go into more about researching the markets, how you decided which ones we were going to visit.
Yeah, so the hotel we found, and I'm sure you're going to discuss which one it is. It was, like you said, 5-minute walk. It was from that main shopping boulevard that I found near that first market in West Berlin. It was just down the avenue. Um, so in researching, I wanted a more traditional because there was so many different type of Christmas markets.
How many
Um,
Christmas markets are in Berlin?
when I was researching, it says 60 to 70. They
That's a lot
were,
of markets.
yeah, and they were like different parts of Berlin. But when you got to West Berlin, the heart of West Berlin, the heart of East Berlin, there was a little bit more. There was a cluster that we can go to, and it'd be easy access for us, and we didn't have to struggle to get to these markets. In West Berlin, that one was walking distance. We actually used a hop on, hop off bus to get to these Christmas markets that selected with my criteria that I wanted it to be more traditional type of food that they had in these mugs. That was like a drawer. It was kind of fun. You go to this Christmas market and you hunt down for these Christmas mugs to take home.
Damn
So
Instagram and all their videos,
yeah, and
there's
the
cute
videos are
mugs,
showing
gave
you
us
and
all
it
these expectations.
exactly. And so you start to research then when you find the Christmas markets that you want to go to, you find the videos and you can get other people's input as far as the market itself. Um, so with the time frame that we had, I picked the number of Christmas market in that area. So we divided our time in West Berlin and in East Berlin and with the Christmas markets in those areas. So I found in the research that a lot of these Christmas markets are where historical sites are or popular area. Um, for in East Berlin, they had a cluster. There was 3 that we visit that we were able to walk to. I think we did pretty good with picking the markets. The days that we were in Berlin, we were in Berlin for 2 days. And I also wanted to incorporate sightseeing. So we got to do that too.
I did want to mention one of the other things that we needed to consider was the weather because we're Floridians. I know that you're a New Yorker, but you've lived in Florida longer than you lived in New York. So I know that you get really cold as well. And we had never been to Europe in December, and you went all out and buying hand warmers, all of that stuff. What else did you buy?
We made sure that our winter jacket was waterproof.
And that's a good thing too, because it was cold and rainy.
Yep.
Then we also got body warmers to put in our jackets.
Yeah, to put at the
Um,
back.
I didn't really use the hand warmers, but I know that you did buy the little gloves to be able to use the hand warmers. But the ones to put in the back of your jacket, I remember using that. And those worked out really well. So let's start the itinerary. I did mention that included in our ticket was checking bags. We were able to check it and it was going straight to Berlin. And one thing I will mention, a little side note, a little sidetrack. Before this trip, and we had never done this before, but you said, "Oh, hey, should I buy AirTags?" And initially, I was reluctant because I was like, I don't think we really need those. I mean, we don't really check our bags that much. Our bags are usually with us, but you ended up buying them. And I'm like, well, you bought them, so we can use them. Why not? And everyone's talking about AirTags and how awesome and how great they are to put them in your luggage. And it's so convenient for you to follow your luggage. And I might have a hot take on this, but I think they make your life worse before they make it better. And let me tell you why. So we get these AirTags, we put them in our bags, and we like to get to the airport early. Now, when we got there, usually the check-in desk doesn't open until a few hours, I think 3 or 4 hours before the flight. So we did have to wait a little bit in order to check our bags. And at that point, I don't know, there's like some chaos going on. So when we got up to give them our bags, I guess I wasn't really paying attention to our luggage. Like I didn't see them take them. Or if I did, I don't remember. But I just remember like, okay, so let's try and go to the lounge. And if you follow me on Instagram, I did document that we couldn't get into the Priority Pass lounge. And also, just to plug it in here, I do have a highlight from this trip in my Instagram story. So if you do want to follow along with that, I also have it here to reference. But it was really annoying. We ended up paying way more money for a really shitty sandwich at the airport. And we're just sitting there, but I'm preoccupied with what we're going to do when we get to Amsterdam, what the logistics are. I'm not anxious because of the flight. I'm more anxious about the logistics of us getting there and what we're going to do when we get there. So I forgot to check my phone to see the status of our luggage. So we get on the plane and I'm like, oh my gosh, let me look at our luggage. And I only see one of our bags. And I'm thinking to myself, it's okay, because if you don't know how AirTags work, they have to ping off of other Apple devices or something like that. So if the AirTag isn't near another device, you can't get the location. I don't think a lot of people realize that, but I was like, oh, okay, maybe it'll update. So our flight takes off. I don't have access to the internet. And once we land in Amsterdam, one of our bags still in Miami. And I'm like, what? But it also hadn't been updated in hours. So I'm like, is it still in Miami? Is it on the plane? So just so that you guys have an idea, we start our layover in Amsterdam and I'm freaking out. But we'll get back to that. We're going to pause and talk about the flight to Amsterdam. So we get on the plane. Again, we were flying in economy. So I already knew the flight was going to be rough. I've got my compression socks. I've got my eye mask. I've got my earplugs. I don't remember if they gave us any of that stuff, actually, now that I think about it, but I brought my own. But so we get on the plane and we get in, we get settled. One of the things I did document on here is that we did get a warm towel, which was nice. Do you remember the warm towel?
Yes.
And then we did get meal service shortly after takeoff. You got the chicken, but you didn't touch the rice, but you said the chicken wasn't bad. I had the pasta because I usually think pasta's pretty safe. I hate dried chicken. I usually stay away from fish. Sometimes I'll do fish in business class, but definitely not in economy. And I noted here that the pasta wasn't bad and it was hot. I hate it when the food is not hot. Do you remember your chicken?
No, I just remember that the rice didn't look good, so I didn't touch it.
It
Said
didn't
the
look
chicken.
appetizing.
No, not at all.
And then I did note here that they did give us some snacks, which I did enjoy throughout the flight. I got here like a brownie, an oatmeal cookie. Those are actually pretty tasty. And then for breakfast, it was a little weird and interesting. They gave us some pastry looking thing, which didn't really taste that great. But I noted here that they gave us a small piece of cheese, which was honestly the best thing we had. I still think about that cheese. It was quite delicious. It was creamy, it was flavorful. KLM is a Dutch airline, so I'm pretty sure that it was Dutch cheese. And I'm pretty sure they're known for their cheese. It was delicious. And I know that the bar is pretty low because it was an economy and the food wasn't that great. So I had this cheese to hold on to, but it was good. I remember it being really good. So overall, I would say the food economy was just meh. But again, it's economy. What do you expect? Did you have any expectations going into it?
Hey guys, it's Jenny here. Sorry to interrupt. If you love the podcast, I've got a free budget travel 101 course to help you start saving on flights, hotels, and more. Grab it at travelingfranklins.com/budget travel 101 or check the show notes. Want to connect with other like-minded travelers? Join the Lazy Budget Travel Tips Facebook group. I share more tips, host live Q&As, and keep you up to date on the latest. And if you're looking to show your support, check out my affiliate links or buy me a coffee. Back to the episode.
No, I never with the meals, I don't remember them. I'm too preoccupied and excited about getting there. I can go hours without eating, so I don't remember much of the meal. Nope.
Okay, that's fine. I'm the total opposite. I need my meals, otherwise I get hangry and I get miserable, and nobody wants
You get
that.
cranky.
So
Yes, we
I
understand.
get cranky is the right word. It's like the Snickers commercial, except Snickers
Yeah,
will not help me. I like savory food. If you give me a Snickers, I'm like, what is this? Give me actual food. Um,
exactly. Get that child a piece of cheese.
yeah, give me a piece of cheese, but it has to be Dutch. Okay. So
It
then
could
I
be
have
French.
here that,
You like the
oh,
French.
I do. I like a French brie. So then we finally made it to Amsterdam. I have a picture of me looking extremely tired, but I really liked the backdrop that they had where it says, "Welcome to the Netherlands. We eat more licorice than any other nation. Come and eat." I don't know how to say this, but I think it's like dropjes. I don't know how to say this, but it says, "Come and eat it with us," which I thought was super cute. It was really
It was
early.
so dark. It was like it felt like it was nighttime, but
I
it was
know, and
morning.
I didn't get any sleep whatsoever on that flight, not even a little bit. So I remember we breezed through customs, and the customs agent asked what our final destination was. And I said, "Oh, we're going to Berlin." And she goes, "Oh, for the Christmas markets." She was so nice and she seemed super excited for us. So that was cute. Okay, so just to get back to the air tag debacle. So we land in Amsterdam. I check my phone, still not updated, and I'm freaking out because I know that our check bags are checked to Berlin. But when I looked on the app, you can track your bag on the app. It only showed my bag. And mom, you didn't have the app on your phone. We did everything from my phone. So I actually ended up having to talk to an agent, which I was so surprised and grateful that there was a KLM agent there who seemed to be kind of like, "Why are you freaking out about your bag? Of course, you're only going to see your bag on the app." She tried to reassure me, but I was like, "No, we're both on the same ticket. I don't understand why I can only see my bag." She goes, "No, I see both bags here." And of course, you wouldn't see her bag. And I'm like, "That doesn't make sense to me." So I'm like, whatever. I don't want to prolong this saga with the AirTag, so I'm just gonna, spoiler alert. We spent the entire layover in Amsterdam with no update on this damn bag. And it wasn't until we were about to board the plane from Amsterdam to Berlin that it finally updated. And I remember you said to me, you were like, "Do you know that if we didn't have these AirTags, it would be like blissful ignorance because you would have no idea that your bag, even if your bag was stuck in Miami, you wouldn't know." And I'm like, "I know, which is why do we have these AirTags? Why?" So I wanted to strangle you at that point. But anyways, what's your take on the whole AirTag debacle that really wasn't a debacle, but it was a debacle in my head?
No, but you could tell in your eyes that you were like, "Why is this happening?" I thought it was a good idea.
Of course you did, because you weren't dealing with it.
I went and bought it so you could use it. But I would say it's your perception of the situation. Because at that moment in Amsterdam, there was nothing we could do. Once we were in Berlin and the luggage was left behind, then I would say, "Oh, okay, we have a situation here." And then we will be happy that we had the air tags because then
If
we
they
can
were
see it.
updated.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have been updated.
Yeah, you're so sure? It didn't
Yeah,
update for 13 hours.
but I thought it was a good idea in the event that the situation was that we had a missing luggage and that we had something to track it, even if it didn't work.
But
Technology is technology. Sometimes you just have to take advantage of technology, and if it fails you, then you learn for next time. And that's my take on it.
I just think these people who are posting on Instagram that AirTags are the best thing ever and you absolutely need to have AirTags. I'm just like, whatever. I feel like that's such bullshit. People are like, oh my gosh, look at my AirTag. It's in the air. It's flying with me. And I'm like, well, good for you. Mine didn't. I mean, I say 13 hours it didn't update. It was actually longer because the flight was like 10 hours and I didn't have any signal. So I didn't know where my bag was for like 23 hours.
Right.
So
So if we take
I
another
just
trip and use the air tags, we may not run
I just
into
won't pay
that problem.
attention. Well, I just won't
Oh,
pay
you won't
attention
pay
to it, I think.
attention. Yeah, that's
Yeah, at
that
that
that's
point,
a
I
good
won't
idea.
look at it until we need to. And if it's updated, great. If it's not, I guess I'm no worse off than I would have been without them at that point. I think it just had this expectation that was unrealistic. And I don't know, whatever. Back to the Amsterdam layover. So once we got through customs, it was time for us to find where we could store our bags
Right.
because, yes, we checked our bags, but we didn't want to carry our backpacks around.
Yes. So we researched what we were going to do with our travel backpack.
We did a lot of research because we didn't really know the logistics. And I had heard that it was really hard to find the baggage storage. So I was a little concerned. But I think you sent me a really good video about the process of storing your bag.
Because a lot of people has that layover in Amsterdam, and they use that uh, baggage storage. There was information out there about that.
Yeah, so that was really good because once we got there, we were a little confused because the closest baggage storage to where we were was between arrivals 1 and 2. When we first got out of customs, we didn't really see that. We kind of wandered before we realized we just need to keep walking and go through the airport. It was kind of looked like a shopping mall, sort of, which was decorated for Christmas. Once we started walking towards that, then we saw the signs for arrivals 1 and 2. I actually have on my Instagram stories a picture of the sign that says baggage storage. And there were a few signs like that, and there was an arrow. So once we just kept walking, it was actually really easy to find. And then so once we followed the signs, we took the elevator down. I think it was 1 level. And the process was really simple. We just dropped off our backpacks. It was €6 per bag per day. And you pay when you pick it up. They gave me a ticket and they said, don't lose your ticket. And they actually advised me to take a picture. So that's what I did. And I posted it on my stories. But it was a really easy process and convenient.
Yeah, when I was researching, the one at the airport was convenient and I think cheaper because then we would have to have separate lockers because our travel backpacks are pretty big.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good planning on our part, what we were going to do. Because definitely I did not want to carry that backpack knowing that what we were going to do in Amsterdam was a lot of walking. And
Yeah, it
plus
would have
it
been
was,
too much.
and it was once we got to Amsterdam Central because we needed to do something in those 13 hours. And it would have been difficult with the backpack.
So then the next thing we needed to do was to get our train tickets. There were a ton of yellow train ticket kiosks like all over the place. That's where we bought our train tickets to the Amsterdam Central Station. It was €6 one way to Amsterdam Central. I think we could have bought round trip. Maybe would have saved us like $2, but I just didn't want to worry about losing my ticket. And I was just like, whatever. So we bought one-way tickets. And then it was one of those things where you check the monitor. I found it really simple. I'm not a public transportation person, meaning we don't have that at home. I think I've learned from traveling how to use the public transportation a little bit more, but I don't think that it was super intimidating at all. We saw Amsterdam Central on the monitors and it told us exactly which platform to go to. By the time we got to Amsterdam Central, it was still pretty dark and it was cloudy and rainy. I am glad that we didn't have to carry the bulky carry-on backpacks onto the train. The train was comfortable though. I was very impressed. It was
Yeah,
comfortable and
it's
it was
very nice.
clean.
Yeah.
So we now kind of needed to decide what we wanted to do with the 13 hours that we had. I knew that we wanted to give ourselves plenty of time to get back to the airport, but we still had 10 hours to kill. So it happened to be that there was a tourist office there, but they weren't even open yet. That's how early it was. So we had to wander around. And then after we went to the bathroom and paid our euros to go to the bathroom, we did have some leftover euros. We didn't actually end up taking out euros yet at this point, but we actually didn't need them. I was able to tap my phone for the bathroom, which was super convenient. The tourist office was finally open, and we settled on doing a canal cruise. So we ended up doing the first canal cruise that they had available, and it was a little rainy, but it was still really nice. So what did you think of the canal cruise?
Oh, I liked it because when I was in Amsterdam before, I had said to you, I think you're going to like this.
And then I think we walked over to Dam Square. Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
it wasn't far from where we took the cruise.
So we kind of wandered a bit after the cruise, just kind of walked, but we also had to stop by and get your stroopwafel.
Yes, we found a shop, really cute shop.
A lot of the shops in Amsterdam were cute, and I have a picture of you holding your cute bag of your stroopwafels. I have a picture of that on my Instagram stories. And then we were hungry. So then we ended up going to this random restaurant. I think I did a Google search, but I couldn't even tell you. I
You
don't
just wanted
remember,
to
but
eat at that point. Yeah.
I just wanted to eat. Yeah. And I think I might have tagged it on Instagram, but we ended up getting pancakes, but not like your traditional pancakes. They were kind of like crepes, right?
Yeah, they were flat, really flat.
Really flat and really big. And I got like a ham one, and then I think you got like an apple one.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there waiting for our food or waiting for the check or something like that. And I'm so deliriously tired, I start to sing. Like I was singing and sync like Merry Christmas, like really getting into it.
Yeah.
And the server walked over and she was like, "Oh, I was just trying to wait for you to stop singing so I could give you your check." And I was so embarrassed, but I really needed to keep myself awake. And that's what I had to do.
Yeah, it
Anyways,
looked like you
so
were gonna get up and perform in front of everybody.
oh my God. So anyway, so then what else do we do?
Then I wanted to walk to Anne Frank, to the place where she hid from the Nazi.
The Anne Frank house.
Exactly. So
And why
we
didn't we end up doing the tour?
because you gotta do it in advance, we weren't sure what time we were gonna be in Amsterdam, and so it was hard to get those events tickets. Because didn't wanna book one, then we miss it because we didn't arrive at time.
Yeah, in hindsight, we totally could have booked a tour, but it was like one of those things we just decided not to do it.
Yeah.
But it was nice to be able to at least walk by it.
Then we walked to the duck store.
Oh, yes, the famous duck store. Tell them about that. Whenever we're in Europe, you always have to go to your duck store.
Yeah, so the duck store originated in Amsterdam, but they don't have any in United States, but
It's literally a store of rubber
duck.
duckies.
Yes, of different characters or different places. So I found one that says I love Amsterdam.
Yeah, and I like to do the ornaments wherever we travel because we call it the travel tree, and it has ornaments
Right.
from all the places we visit. We did a lot of walking. We did see a red light, and that was interesting. And I was like, "Ooh, where are we, Mom?" And some coffee houses. And I put, if you guys are watching on YouTube, coffee house in quotes, because when you're in Amsterdam, coffee houses are not really about the coffee. It's more about the marijuana. Yeah, so in the context of Amsterdam, a coffee shop refers to a license established where the sale of cannabis for personal consumption is tolerated. This differs from a traditional coffee house, which serves coffee and other beverages. The Dutch government allows the sale of small quantities of cannabis in licensed coffee shops as a way to separate the sale of soft drugs from hard drugs. So just, I guess, keep that in mind. So yeah, we did a lot of walking and then we had a lot of time because I think we had planned to leave around like 5 o'clock to head back over to the airport. And we passed by a hop on, hop off bus office. And we were like, you know what? We've been doing a lot of walking. It would be nice to just sit on a hop on, hop off bus, get a tour of Amsterdam. So we went in there and the guy was like, "Oh, well, if you wait till 2:30, it's like half the price." And I think the buses end at like 5. So we were just like, "Oh, all right, let's just do that." So we ended up getting on there around 2:30 and just taking it around. We didn't really plan on making any stops, right?
Yeah, we just wanted to ride the full circle loop, as they call it.
Yeah, exactly. So we did that and we were just like, you know what? Let's just head back to the airport, get settled. So we ended up going back to the Amsterdam Central. We bought a train ticket, which was €6 each, to get back to the airport. We had to go pick up our bags, which was, again, really easy. I showed them the ticket on my phone. They gave us our bags. Then we went through security and then off we went to the Priority Pass Lounge. They had some hot food there, so that was good. And then, like I said before, I sat down waiting to board the plane, and that's when I looked at my phone and our bags had been reunited finally. And they were gonna get on the plane to Berlin. So, what did you think of the layover?
It was good. Um, we we had talked about if we were ever to do that again, the longer one. I think you said that there's one for 24 hours where we would have been able to plan it a little bit more.
I remember saying to you, I don't want to do that again. That was way too long. I was too tired to really enjoy myself. It was rough. I don't regret it. I'm really grateful and happy about the experience. I got to see Amsterdam, but it was too long to be awake, man. If I was talking to someone and they asked me, I would say 13 hours is too long, 10 hours is probably too long. And to your point, maybe 24 hours. If you're going to do 13 hours, might as well just do 24 and sleep a little bit. I think if you had like an 8-hour layover, that's better. So then we were ready to get on our hour flight from Amsterdam to Berlin. We landed in Berlin. It was late. It was probably like 11 o'clock at night. Then we took the transportation over to the hotel we were going to stay for the night. So I ended up booking the Moxie at the Berlin airport. We love a Moxie. We stayed there in Paris. It's a really interesting concept for a hotel. It's kind of bare bones, but it has a lot of personality. So I think it's pretty unique. It is a Marriott brand, so I was able to use points. I don't really have a lot of Marriott points because I'm just like not really a big fan of their program points wise. I love them as a chain, but I only needed a little over 14,000 points, which I did have. And I didn't know when I'd be able to use them, so I figured why not? It was an airport hotel, but it wasn't really one of those airport hotels that you could walk. You definitely needed to get in a car, and I didn't want to get like a Uber or a free now taxi. I was afraid of how much it was going to be for such a short drive. But when I was on the Moxie website, I scrolled all the way down to the bottom to look at the transportation options. And I did notice, I think it was like in really small print, that they had a link out to transportation company that they partner with. So I was able to book us online in advance. I think I booked it like a month or two in advance. For two people, it was only $6.33. They were really specific about how to get to the parking lot once we landed. Although once we got to the parking lot, we weren't really sure which like parking spot they were going to go in, but somehow we figured it out. And then, it was maybe 10 minutes to the hotel and we finally arrived and I was just done. I was done. I was like, we got to go to bed. And thank God the Moxie has a later checkout than other places. The checkout was at noon the next day. And we slept in till like 11 o'clock. So, yeah, I think that's where we're going to end part 1 of our European Christmas market adventure. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what we did in Berlin, Munich, Salzburg, and Paris. We'll talk about our favorite market of the entire trip, what surprised us about Paris in December, how we made the most of our time with just a few days in each place, the food that we enjoyed, the activities that we did. So if you're thinking about planning a Christmas market trip or you just love hearing about them, make sure that you come back next week for part 2. And hey, if you've got questions about booking flights, planning your itinerary, or what's a pack for winter in Europe, join the Lazy Budget Travel Tips Facebook group. That's where we will continue this conversation. And I'd love to hear the destinations on your holiday wish list. So thanks for listening. Thank you, Mom, for joining me.
You're welcome.
And we will see you guys in part 2. So until next time, keep it simple, keep it fun, keep exploring. Make sure that you hit subscribe and join the Facebook group, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Next, go grab our free Budget Travel 101 course. You'll find it in the show notes or at travelingfranklins.com. And join the community. The Lazy Budget Travel Tips Facebook group is ready and waiting for you. I'm excited to see you there, and I'll catch you in the next episode.